Okay, so I'll start mostly from a inclusive cultural piece, but there is like, as you guys know in the prep session, I started in a male dominated industry. My background's engineering, and I started in operations, managing a team of 50 men as one of my first roles as an operations manager. And so work the floor quite a bit. And there's a tendency when it's a male dominated industry to want to design solutions and things to meet the average and not consider the experiences for the employees who are on the fringes. So if you're in a male dominated industry, that would tend to be your female employees. And so you end up with an all size fits men type of solution. And so even down to your PPE, I remember wearing gloves on the floor that were 5 sizes too big. It felt because I have small hands. Gloves didn't fit my hands to work the floor. So I love when it comes to workplace solutions, I love the concept of inclusive design as a general practice, and it involves identifying and co-creating solutions with the diversity in your employees. So you're specifically engaging those who are on the fringes versus those who are the average, because it helps you create a more creative solution, and a solution that better meets the needs of your broader organization. So that might be solutions related to your PPE. So it may be smaller glove size and you know what, there's men who have smaller hands too. So it's a solution that applies to everybody. It could be the benefits you provide. It could be your workplace policies such as flexibility. You're engaging your broader organization to design, and you're making it available for everybody. Your change room design, your washrooms, things like that. In my manufacturing example, while my gloves were too big, somewhere along the line, some male leader that we had the brilliance to talk to some female employee with what to do with the females' washrooms, and there were pads and tampons available in every single washroom in that facility. And that is such a big deal when you're working the property line. Like when you're working the floor, you can go to all parts of that plant at any one day, and you're away from your office or you're away from your locker, and just simply something small like that, having that available, makes a huge difference in the experience as a woman in a male dominated environment. So that's a specific lens from my experiences, but I just love that piece around co-designing with your organization and tapping into the fringes versus designing to the average. So those are some considerations in a male dominated environment.
Well, I'll just build on Carmen's excellent comments on inclusive design with an example, a specific real life example. We hear from women all the time. Often women who are in perimenopause, some can experience very heavy bleeding, which means that they need to find a washroom every hour and often change their pads when they're going to the washroom. We heard from some women in Northern Ontario who work in a mining community, and the garbage can in the washroom wasn't big enough to dispose of their waste. There were not period products available. So they would have to bring a backpack every day, go to the washroom, dispose of their items in their own personal garbage bag, take their backpack out, feel embarrassed to do that, have people laugh at them, people question what were they doing with their backpack in the washroom. So that's just an example of the negative impact of not doing that inclusive design work, which is really straightforward. It just means that we have to be knowledgeable and educated and aware and recognize the benefits of doing so.
For employers of male-dominated, populations who feel, these women's health topics are not important to their employee population or to their employees, I still think that it's beneficial to raise awareness on this topic and have these conversations within their organization. So, many male employees will have females who play a key role in their lives, right? So whether it's their partner, their parent, child, sibling, they're likely going to have females in their lives. So starting this dialogue, on women's health issues will help to educate them on, what the women in their life experience and how they can support them. And this will enable them to foster, healthier relationships. And I'd like to speculate that will have a positive impact on their mental health and even potentially their productivity at work. So just because you have, a lot of men working for you doesn't mean that we shouldn't be talking about women's health too.
I'll jump in from a bit of a different perspective. I guess, one of the things that the things that come across my desk when we're talking about a male-dominated workplace or industry, often it's, allegations of discrimination or harassment. So I think it's important, getting back to my point earlier, that people understand how the law works, but also making sure people are trained on the policies and the procedures. And in particular, what I mean is supervisors and managers need to know how to respond to complaints or even potential concerns about harassment and discrimination. I need to understand that they need to be reported to HR and investigated. So that's one aspect that I think people need to be mindful of. And the other is just providing opportunity to women in those workplaces. And it's one thing to say that you're an equal opportunity employer, et cetera, et cetera. It's another thing to actually walk the walk. So there's far too many of these workplaces that we hear of where women are, actively or passively discouraged from pursuing opportunities. And it's made known that they want a man for the team lead or the supervisor or whatever the role is. So I think it's really important that there be a real effort made to ensure that there is equal opportunity, even if women are in the minority within
the other point there is advocacy. So if you're in a male-dominated area, be that advocate and that voice for women to, whether it's to step into positions, whether it is something that they have seen and experienced, be that one voice in the room that's saying that is inappropriate, that is not what we do, and be that person that is helping. So I think that's a really big part of it as well, and a big part of the awareness and training that we've talked about. I think awareness and training is a huge thing, and it needs to continue and be a part of a training plan that is talked about and continue to roll out within an organization.